There's a place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
Right there, Kent McIntosh.
Does it seem like it's been a month? To me, it seems like it's been a month. Listen, happy Easter to all. Thanks so much for everybody joining us tonight. I can't thank you enough. Kent McIntosh, that event on the 23rd to the 27th is moving ahead, just as all of our events. And we'd love to have you up there. In fact, we're about 2/3 full. And I'm going to tell you now, if you are interested and would love to experience the French River at its finest, by all means, please join us September 23rd to the 27th up at Camp McIntosh. Any of the details you need to know are there. You can get all of your questions asked. Just reach out to Andre and Tracy, and they will certainly answer any questions that you may have in terms of what you need to bring, what you need to have, and what you might be enjoying your stay with. So again, it'd be great to have you up. I know it's not going to be easy this year. This year is going to be different, and we're going to be talking about that tonight because things are definitely different this year than last year. And all you need to do is go look at the price of gas. I don't know. We're going to discuss a little bit about that today, as well as a bunch of whole other things. But first and foremost, I wanted to remind you, we were doing a contest, First Fish of 2026. Well, we went the entire week and no one submitted. So guess what? Next Monday on CFN Live, we are going to be announcing the winner of an incredible prize pack. We're going to be making sure throughout the week that we subtly remind you of some of the folks that helped sponsor and put this package together. But come next Monday, right here, CFN Live, we're going to be giving it away to one lucky CFNer, and there was a whole wacky that qualified. So it's going to be interesting giving that away, and hopefully we'll brighten your day with it being the way it is, because as it is right now, if you live in Ontario, you are being reminded again today and tomorrow that winter is still alive and well. If you live up north, you know it's alive and well. In fact, you're probably sick of it. The amount of snow that they've had up north in Ontario is crazy. Out west, I know you guys are starting to warm up, but hard water season is still well underway. Hopefully you still have good ice, safe ice, whatever you want to call it, fishable ice, as we like to call it here, and you're enjoying that. But needless to say, there is a time of transition happening right now. We're seeing it. The panel's seeing it as well. So without further delay, we will get to that panel. All my announcements are done. I just want to say hello and thank you to everybody who's joining us tonight. Wow. Holy smokes. Look at all you guys. James Shembry, happy Easter, my friend. Nice to see you. Stephen, always a pleasure to have you, my friend. Adrian, the share. You're getting as close. You're getting close to Richard, man, when it comes to amount of shares, Adrian. I really do appreciate that. You're working very hard to spread the message. Eve, so are you, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you. There is the heart and soul. Gary Da Silva. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody had a great Easter weekend. Amen to that. My right-hand man right there, Steve Shaw. How's everybody today? Steve's asking. Never as good as you, Steve, but we keep trying. Erica's in the house. Always a pleasure to see you. This feels like about a month since I've done this. And we only took the week off. All calls all done, works, never mind work. We're on to the fun stuff. But I'll tell you, it seems like we took like a 3-week break. Fernando, always a pleasure to have you. What's up, buddy? Hope you're getting ready for steelhead season, the early steelhead run. There's Joe Vitani's with us. How you doing, Joe? Always a pleasure to have you. Lloyd's in the house. Always a pleasure to have you as well. Holy smokes. All rise. Holy. There's no way I'm missing Camp Mac this year. Well, buddy, we'd love to have you, Sean. Make it so, number one. Always a pleasure to have you guys here, missing seeing the star. The satellites, buddy. Satellites. Never mind the stars. Satellites. Pete's in the house. How you doing, Pete? Good evening every day. some snow. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how much snow you guys have up there. It's insane, and it just doesn't seem to stop falling from the skies. How you doing, Shane? Nice to have you. Jeremy Parker's in the house. Brad for Ross. Yeah, baby. Nice to have you as well. Mike, thanks from Grandpa's Tackle Box. Nice to have you along. Yeah, it's a bunch indeed. Dean's in the house. Dean, how you doing, buddy? Always a pleasure to have all you guys with us. And I want to say I'm very happy that with a little bit of time off that I did have over the weekend, I managed to get a few things done. And one of the biggest things I needed to get done was Jim's intro. You're going to get to see it right now. And we got Big Jim coming up right after this.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
Yo, yo.
Well, Jim, how you doing, pal?
I'm alive.
Finally got to your intro, by the way. Finally switched things up. Certainly included some of the best of Big Jim.
It's all good, buddy.
It is, it's an honor to have you here, pal. And let's explain why. You talk about the show must go on. Well, this is a perfect example of how and why. Big Jim dealing with bit of issues with your septic, and you still find time
It's
for
my wife's fault.
What's that?
It was Tammy's fault. I got the door closed so she can't hear me, so I can be a tough guy tonight.
Well, Jim, I did, because you did have all the girls over, and when you told me that the septic was leaking, I'm thinking, oh Lord, with all those girls.
It wasn't leaking. What it was the pump, because you know the way mine sits down the back and it pumps it up on the side of the lawn over here. The weepers up above. The pump that pumps it went.
Oh.
So it'll cost me $1,000 for a new pump in the morning, and then the guy's coming to empty the tank so my buddy Lewis can change it, because he worked on septics for years. He came and looked at it yesterday, just in case it was, whatever. But he said, no, it's dead. There's no sound. There's nothing. So she's done.
Well, thank God for Lewis. All hail Lewis for being there to help you out.
Yeah, he's a great boy. He's been a blessing in my life. We've become really good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he came over last night, him and the wife came over, and he brought his little guy with him because the little girl was gone to a sleepover.
Yes.
And, at a friend's house, and they came over here, and we talked out there for 3 hours.
Oh, awesome.
It was a nice little visit. Yeah.
Speaking of nice visits, of course you visited, and it's been, Jim, I don't know why, but for me it seems like it's been a month that we took off. We only took a week off.
Yeah.
But CanCast.
It's funny you said that, because I said to Tammy, I said, look, I got everything done. I'm going to go out the back and see the guys, and the girls, sort of trouble now. But it was one of those things that I just, she said to me, well, you guys haven't done that for a long time.
It's true. It feels like it's been weeks, but it's only been the week. We did miss out. Unfortunately, work took over and robbed all of my free time. But I did want to get back and circle back and ask you, how was your visit to CanCast? How did CanCast go?
It was absolutely awesome. I was not in a good way. It was, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to leave to go to Gagnon's on Saturday. Got there, hung out for the day there, and then zipped up to Peterborough, got in the hotel room, and it was so nice. And Kyle got me this room. It had a big king-size bed, a jacuzzi, and all this stuff in it. So I said to him the next day, Kyle, look at me. Do you think I need that anymore? My days of king-size beds and jacuzzis are over.
I believe the first weekend we stayed together, that I stayed in your room for CanCast, you had that same room with the tub. Because I said, Jim, I love you, bud, but this is getting awkward, this honeymoon tub here.
I said to Tammy when I got home, I said, because of the way I felt with my spine bugging me so much, I said, I seriously considered getting in it, because it does relax, it does make you feel a little bit better, right? And she said, well, why didn't you? I said, well, I didn't want them to find me there on Wednesday like stew cooked in something from a horror movie.
Wow. Okay. Well, from one morbid thought to another, James Shepley's James Shembry's asking who's going to replace who's replacing Chuck Norris as Jim's co-angler. Ooh, good one. Sounds
Scotty
like
Martin.
yeah, it sounds like Pete's.
Hey, maybe Sean Quinn.
Ooh, that's a good choice, buddy.
It could
That's
be
a
Sean
good
Quinn
choice.
because he wants to beat up. He wants to see how many 10-year-olds he could beat up. Did you see that post he made?
No,
Oh, it was hilarious.
what
It
was
absolutely
he up to
hilarious.
now?
Yeah.
What was getting? I mean, it doesn't take much. Sean always. I'm telling you, that boy is hilarious. And
I
anything
read
that
it. I read it twice. I burst out laughing. I was sitting there. I was drinking that tea in the morning. I read it and I spit the tea out on the floor. No guff.
wow.
Yeah. Little
Well,
peckers are everywhere now.
That's our Quinner, man. I'm telling you, if there is a joke, a laugh to be had, that boy, he thinks of it in no time.
Yeah.
Very quick on his feet. Jim, now that the CanCast is over and the show season
Oh,
is...
I got to tell you about CanCast.
Oh, okay. Yes, please do.
I get there in the morning, and well, I've told you the good part. Wink,
Yes.
wink. And then so I went to I was gonna spend some time with Jeff from Limestone because they were just really good buddies.
Yep.
And maybe Wes. I explained to Wes the situation why I might not have time to get to him and the location. And then I spent most of my time with Mark from Weapons of Mass Destruction, and he said to me after, he said, "I never realized how many people you would shake hands with." I stayed till I think it was like 1:30.
Okay.
So in 4.5 hours, he looked at me. He said to me, "There was never a time when I looked at the edge of the booth and there wasn't 3 people shaking your hand." He said, "You were signing hats. You had a guy go get a book out of the car for you to autograph the chapter in the book that you wrote, all kinds of stuff like that, eh?" And then he said was the best thing. He said, "I look up and Bob Azumi's there, and he stayed for like 45 minutes right at the edge of the booth because I saw Bob going through the crowd, and he's going through the crowd, and I yell, 'Bob, Bob,' and he's looking around, and he goes a bit more because the crowd's full. Eh? He's not moving far. And I'm thinking, should I be yelling Bob? Because he is moving. He doesn't need to stop. And I yell it a couple more times, and he goes like this. He literally looks around and goes, because I'm sitting in a chair at the edge of the booth, he goes like this, and he comes over and he says, "I'm not used to looking for you down there. When I hear your voice, I'm looking up." And I just thought it was so funny. And then he stayed there. We met. Oh, it was so funny. The number of people that stopped by when Bob and I were visiting that we both knew, and we had, it was just great. It's what CanCast is all about. It's like this in the fishing business. Like that show, that was the greatest one day of sport fishing in Canadian history.
And I do believe there's not too many people would argue with you on that.
People, no, if you argue with me, argue with me, you can unfriend me now on Facebook. But yeah, no, it was pretty funny. But no, I had a great time. And then I emailed Kyle because they let me park right in the wheelchair spot beside the back door, but they put the fence up so you can't get out after. So he called Sean. Sean came over and took the twist tie off the fence there, the pull tie, the big thick one. Just cut it off and had another one. And they opened the fence about a foot, well, about 2 feet, and let me through. And they had my chair in my bag. They were fighting over it. Who was going to carry it? I just love it. It makes you feel good, you know.
That's awesome.
But it was so funny because I had a couple of the guys I had Buck from Toronto come by and say hi. He spent a few minutes with me, and he said to me, "Geez, I really wish you were over there with us, you know," and whatever. And then he whispers to my ear, he says, "Do you want me to come carry your chair out to the truck when you got to go? Just text me."
That's awesome.
Because that was his job. Nobody touched that chair but Buck.
That's awesome. That's cool to hear, and deservedly so, pal. You've done a lot for a lot of us, and it's nice to see. But again, now that, as I said, the big shows are pretty much done across the board. What was your biggest takeaway from this year's show season?
I think more than an individual thing, CanCast, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind how it was. And of course, the pond at our pond, you know, like my pond at the kids show, and having you guys come help again and seeing how many people were there, and seeing Serena and Erica come down to help, and so many other people volunteering,
Yeah.
And then obviously, I had Lewis there the last couple of years, and because Steve and Jenna didn't come because Steve's dad is ill, and he just said to me, I'd rather be around for my dad. And I get that too. He's done it for, it's probably 23, 25 years that he's helped out with it. And he was there almost right from the beginning. And then, of course, Lewis's wife's called Jenna too.
Mhm.
And she filled in for the, the lady aspect at the counter there.
Did a fantastic job, I might add.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why right away when I said to her, I said to her, "Do you want to do it?" And she said, "I told you last year I'll do it. Didn't you remember?" She's like that. Eh? She's a farm girl. So it was neat. Yeah. No, it was.
I have to agree, Jim. That moment that we had all those CFNers around the kids' pond. That was.
I saw the picture the other day again. Somebody posted it.
Yeah. And
it was pretty cool. Yeah. No. It's always a good time, and I depending what I do next year, because I know this is getting worse. Like just since Ottawa, it's got worse. Tammy said it's because you're spending too much time running, and that could be part of it. But I've been a lot quieter this weekend. It's actually got worse.
Oh no!
Like I told you last Saturday or Sunday for CanCast, I had pills that I've had for a long time that the doctor had given me, told me to fill the prescription. And he said, if you ever need them, if you get stuck and you're having issues and you think you might have to go to the hospital or something for the pain, he says, get this filled, put it in your suitcase, put it in your truck so you always have it with you when you travel. And it's been 18 months, I think, or so. And I got the bottle out. I looked at it, and there was only 4 pills in the bottle.
Jeez.
And it said, don't take more than 2 within a 24-hour period. So, there's only, and it can't be filled within 60 days either.
Mm-hmm.
The last one. And I put 2 in my hand. I sat on the bed at 5 to 6 or 5 after 6 in the hotel room. And I was just about to call Kyle and tell him I wasn't going to come.
Oh,
and
wow.
Put the 2 in my mouth and took a glass of water. Boy, water with chlorine in it's horrible. When you don't get it, when you drink well water and then you drink water out of the tap. Oh, that's
so true. So true.
Like tequila. But going back to Peterborough. No. But so I took the pills and I laid back down on the bed. I woke up at 5 to 7. I went to Hortons, got a coffee and went over and parked in the first spot there, and I sat out there for about an hour to be sure I was right at the door. And here we are. I made it through. I did most of the day and whatever the pills. I think I know you weren't there, but I had mentioned to a couple of people about the pills, and I mentioned that I know why they tell you not to take them and drive. Because I took them, and by the time then I just had the quick little zip from the hotel to Hortons and back down. And then, of course, by 1:30 they had worn off. I felt a lot better. But there was a couple of times there, it was really funny where I looked and everything had to take a second to come to catch up.
Wow.
I know. I thought, I wonder if I got the wrong pills, like.
It was just, do I have to remind you we're live?
Here I am.
Yeah, well, you know what? For you to make that call or even to think about making that call to Kyle, I can just only imagine how much pain you were in. So.
Oh, no, I was in a whole different world. I had a couple of people, in fact, ask me, are you okay at the show? Like people that I barely know.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably written all over my face that I wasn't a happy camper, right?
Yeah.
I had a great time when it was all said and done. It's another memory for me being Big Jim. And I cherish every single one.
Yep. I totally get it. Totally understand. And just as someone.
Thanks again, Dean.
Yeah. Experienced with you at CanCast. There's a lot of people that appreciate when you show up, and you're a busy man when they do.
Luke, well, man, he's going to be texting me. Well, what were those pills called?
Yeah. Speaking of putting on a show, Alex, your son, I saw him doing some casting.
He visited me.
Holy smokes, man! That kid's got some skills.
The pistol,
unbelievable. Oh,
I made it off my rod last year, and he caught a giant fish with it, so it was cool.
I'll have to tell you about this.
I was in the Jello tree, Sean.
Yeah, Sean's been there a couple times, 3. I was going to say 2, but 3 or 4 times. No,
this week.
it's great to have you at these events. It's great to see you at these events and interacting with your fans. Truly is something. But with that being said, now that the shows are over, is there anything in particular you're looking forward to open water season?
Yeah, I got to find some rods and reels to use. I'm going to work on that hard this week. We got this is as far as we've got. It's pretty well all done. Just a couple of adds to place.
Wow, this is the spring edition. Holy smokes!
That's how it all looks when Tammy gives it to me and says to me, "Have I missed anything?" As if I would know. It's a big hit. There's lots in it this time, eh? There's lots in it. So that's absolutely incredible. But I mentioned there was a few things that I had at the show that really excited me too, and I gotta find.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is there anything in particular you're looking forward to using this year?
Where the heck did it go? I had all the stuff hanging up here from the phone. Oh, I know where it is. Hang on.
You got it, pal. While you're looking for that, George is making a suggestion that your back might feel a little better if you stop fishing with those heavy Metanium reels. Would be happy to take one if
I gotta. Where is it? Jeff, are you still there? I saw you there a minute ago.
he was and is. Yep.
Yeah, he is. What's the little bait that I like? Like we've got your little craw here. I think it's called a yabby that I like so much. Like I was using that in the fall on the back of my little bucktail jigs here, and I love that stuff, eh? What's that, the new little one that you made that I used all last year on the back of my chatterbaits?
Skill testing question.
I think.
Both Jeffs responded, just so you know, from
Yeah.
Dominate as well as Limestone.
Wrong Jeff, eh? But there was that, like the deputy is, I used those. That was like, there was nothing else went on my chatterbaits last year but that. Once I got a hold of them. And like I said, it's a completely different tail. And I've tried to support all the little guys out there that make lures and things like that, eh? I've done that all along, even when I had other commitments, because I had a line in my contract that said I was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Because of the advertising and that. So there was that. And then if you go to Wes's stuff, the guy from Wham Baits, he's got a new one here that is called the Wham Page, which I'm really going to like for flipping.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a dirty looking thing?
Holy smokes.
And you know me, I've always liked things that had arms and, chicken wings hanging off them and whatever else, that's something like that. So I can't wait to use these, and I've got a little bit at the top to screw on.
Nice.
But I've got those, which if you could find those from him. And then my buddy Vic from Pro Water, I get along with Vic really well. He's got a new minnow, like with all the forward-facing sonar stuff and the minnows. That's his new one. And if you notice the tail is straight up and down, eh?
Yep.
So at the back, it's not the other way around, as a lot of them are like that.
Right.
And if you look closely at the front of the bait, you see the little wings?
Oh, yeah.
See those little wings? I don't know whether I can get an angle.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. You see them there. That's what gives it the rolling on the heads when you have them in the water when you fish them back really, really slowly. So that's something that you really want to watch for. That is easy, pretty easy to find too when you're supporting a local bait manufacturer, which I tend to do a lot, and I enjoy doing it. You've got those, and another one that Wes had, or not Wes, Vic. He brought out a minnow. I hadn't seen this before. I'd seen stuff like it, but see the way it's got a space in there.
Yeah.
And it just adds a little more freedom when you watch it swim in the
100%.
water. It's really, really cool.
Wow.
I tried it in the one of the days we had the cover off the pool in the basement. I tried it. And I was just having it's different. It's not quite the same. That's what I like so much about the Deputy, was that little flat tail wiggling around at the back. It's not, you never know what it's going to do. And that to me is huge. That's one of the biggest things in crankbait fishing when I fished in tournaments. if I had a crankbait, and it was seemed to be even more so true with balsa wood, and I'm sure it's because there's a little bit different density in the wood somehow somewhere in it. It's not quite the same, you know. You'd see the water like they talk about seeking center and all this stuff in there, but you get one, you'd be reeling it in, and you'd watch it, and all of a sudden it'd just do a little funky and keep coming again.
Yeah.
That was the kind of stuff that you do. And, that was one of the things that I found happened with that stuff. So that, with the deputy, and I'd never seen that happen in a plastic bait, and Jeff designed that himself. He makes the molds now and he makes everything. So it's really, really cool. Found something else I was trying to get out some crappy stuff here. I thought I had lost all these, but look how teeny this is.
No way.
Like that, eh? It's a little chatterbait. You can see how small it is, like it's the size of this thing. Teeny little sucker. I like that. I can't wait to get those. You got to throw them on like 3-pound test line. I throw them on 3-pound test trilene, the ice line. I forget what it's called. Jason, what's it called, buddy? You should know the name by it. And another thing that I've been looking at and did some research into. I've always been good buddies with Hiroshi.
Mm-hmm.
And when I gave him the lure, remember I had that lure I said I was going to give to him. Like he was posting on, he went off the deep end. He had tears in his eyes.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't believe it. He actually got tears in his eyes when I gave it to him. Because that lure, his buddy used it fishing with me, unbeknownst to him, 50 years ago. And caught a whole, he's the Asian guy that caught the great big giant muskie with us. And I was on the front cover of the SI press in Japan and everything. So that's really, really cool. But everybody knows Hiroshi's jig head.
Yep.
Okay. And a lot of people don't realize, see how far back the hook is?
Yep.
That's for balance. That's so it hangs horizontal in the water. When you're bringing it back, it doesn't want to nose dive or vice versa, whatever, because it's more for open water. Okay. Now, I don't know whether a lot of people, I've only got these left in a small size, but I don't know whether you've seen this one here that he's done.
Holy smoke. That's a different underspin.
Yeah, that's a teeny. Well, it isn't a spin. It's just a blade. If you look underneath here, see, it's just a little blade.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And the shape of it.
Interesting.
So when this comes through the water, that blade does this at the front, and it causes the whole thing to move. So when you put a small minnow, like something you'd use for, like this type of stuff, on that, it gets that little shimmering to it, and when you see it in the water, it's nuts. It's lights out. Now these come in all different sizes too. Like this is a really small one. This is more like like you'd use for perch or crappies or something.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had a bunch of bags of these around, but I can't find them. Where does it show? It shows up good there. You can see a head.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
So that's just one blade, Jim, or two?
No, it's one. Yeah.
Just one blade.
Yeah, let me put my finger against it and hold it still. There you go. You can see it right there. But because it's not spinning, it's just facing it. It does this because of the shape of it.
Wow, never seen
And
it
it
like
wobbles. Yeah, but that's some stuff that's going to go on. It would fit really, really well. Like I think there was something like this or even smaller. Even small, like something about like would have been like a 2.8 rhythm wave.
Right.
It just brings it to life. Or the 3.8 with a bunch bitten off it. Or see, he's got those minnows for the forward-facing sonar with something smaller like that. Now, mind you, you'd have to get a bigger head, but it would have the same effect where it starts it rolling, because as soon as it gets to one side, the blade pushes back and it goes the other way. Eh?
Gotcha.
So, there's some really cool stuff out there from some Canadian bait manufacturers. And as you know, I've always got my weapons of mass destruction stuff.
Amen. You were at that booth. Wasn't that the booth you were part of?
Yeah, that's right. That's where I spent.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning. Yep. So that was my can cast and everything else, and that's there's that thing that Wes makes there, the Wampage thing. That if I had a plastic thing that was new, he just introduced that for the show. That would be it, and of course Vic's minnow. They're things that I look forward to, and not just for using with forward-facing sonar, like just for using
for using general,
like just general fishing. You can still fish a minnow back, even although you're not using forward-facing sonar. You can use the technology of the lures, to fish with.
100%.
You don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
Jim, I got to ask this question.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this will probably be the last question I'll have a chance to ask you just because of time. But obviously, the elephant in the room outside of myself is gas prices. And I know you have a lifelong timeline of tournament fishing. Never that I remember, except for the really cool story about the prepaid credit card, did I ever hear you say, I couldn't afford to go to a tournament, I couldn't afford to participate in tournaments. Never have I ever heard you say that. With what's going on right now, we are starting to see that gap. It's diminishing to the point where now winning a tournament, you're putting a little bit of cash in your pocket, but it's paying the bills.
Well, yeah, it's changed a bit. It's a lot higher. It's like 35% higher, 33% or something. It wasn't, if I remember correctly, them talking. When you got $100,000 in a boat or $150,000 in a boat, and you got $80,000 in a truck, you ain't worried if it's costing you an extra $40 to fill up the gas tank.
Gotcha.
That's the way I see it. You've got financial resources, you'll be okay. That type of stuff. But to a lot of the little guys that fish the smaller tournaments, kayak guys, people say, oh, they don't have to pay for any gas. Well, they still got to get there.
Yeah.
And the reason they have a kayak, might be because they in a lot of cases, they don't have the resources to have $100,000 or even a $50,000 boat. Everybody doesn't have a ton of money. Like, I wouldn't have done half the things that I did if I didn't have sponsors. Bruce called me from the marina the other day. He says, when you come and get your boat, I'll get the stuff hooked up. The salt's gone now. He said, because he wants it off the lot, so he's got room, eh?
Right.
I think this will be like my 42nd or 41st or 42nd Lund. So you know what I mean? Yeah, he asked me the other day when I was talking to him at the Ottawa show. Well, I saw him at CanCast too, but he came all the way down from Carlton Place to see CanCast. But I saw him there, and he says to me, "Let me ask you a question." He says, "You're gonna use a boat next year?" I said, "I have no idea. Ask me that at the end of the year." He said, "Okay, I won't bug you."
That's hilarious.
He might be looking to get somebody younger, and I get that.
Mhm.
I get that. Somebody's going to use it a lot more, and
No,
that
totally makes sense.
I have no problem when you're making inquiries like that.
Yep. Absolutely. No,
the way it's done.
That is for sure.
Well,
But do you,
exit
outside
strategy.
of maybe some smaller club tournaments or maybe the fringes of those who still want to compete, maybe don't have the means, you might see some of them fall to the wayside.
Or just do less.
Or just do less. In a lot of cases, that's what I'm hearing. I'm very concerned because we're starting to hear rumblings. It's not like any tournaments are making announcements, but I do believe that one series has pulled the plug for this year, and a lot of it has to do with the price of running a tournament, not to mention the price of participating in a tournament. So I'm hoping that we're not going to see others sort of fall to the wayside as well. But I wanted to hear your take. Do you think that these gas prices are enough to put a nail in the coffin of tournaments?
No, never.
Gotcha.
Never. It'll affect it a little bit. But like I said, if you got the kind of money that you can afford a boat, you can afford the hotel rooms, the gas, for a lot of the guys, the beer on Thursday night, Friday night, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll probably spend the money on beer even if they weren't there. But you know what I'm saying? It all adds up, but there's a lot of other things there. I mean, I don't go to Hortons in the morning as much as I used to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't go here what I used to, and it's not just the $5 or $6 for the coffee and the tea. It's the gas and everything out there.
100%. No,
Hey, settle down there.
Good point, Jeff. It's true.
Limestone Lures guy.
Hey,
you're only half an hour away.
Outside of that, Jim, anything else other than the magazine that you wanted to let us know about?
Yeah, the magazine. I've been plugging away with tying jigs. I'll be at BJ's on the Saturday. I think it's May. I think it's the 2nd is the Saturday. I'll be at BJ's on Rice Lake there. I'll probably grab the table and the chair and tie some jigs instead of just yapping. And then I've got, I'll probably go over for a day this weekend to Tight Lines in Cornwall because I really get along with Robert. I really like him.
Nice.
So I'll go over there, and the guys from BKK will be there. So I'll probably sit with Jasper and change hooks on lures or whatever. And they got a lot of weapons of mass destruction stuff in there too, so I can always pump a bit of it for him too. So it's all good. I'll find lots of stuff to do.
Right on, Paul. Well,
Yeah,
listen,
I'm down about 480 jigs to go to get through. So, and that's if the phone don't ring before I get them done.
jeez.
So
It's good to know. Good problem to have. Jim, listen, you
it is.
you get some rest.
Sure.
Looking forward to hearing from you again next Monday, my friend. And if you need any help with your septic system, just tell Lewis that there's a bunch of us that we're willing to come help if need be.
It'll be fixed by, well, see, once I get the tank pumped, it's a 1,600 liter tank, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a big tank, eh?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't have to worry about the pump or anything for probably with Tammy and I here alone. I bet you it'd be 2 months before it would get high enough that it would need to go over. So there's no big rush getting the pump. But I'm not like that. I like to, when something's on the list, I like to get it done.
Yeah.
Here's the current list that she's got me working on right now.
Woof. Wow.
So,
Well,
I'll straighten her out. Remember, the door's closed.
I was just gonna say, can you apologize to her when you do open that door? Have a
I'll
great
open
week.
the door and
Yeah.
I'm down.
You have a great week, pal.
Be
Keep
good,
smiling.
kiddies. Enjoy.
Absolutely. All
Happy
the best.
Easter, by the way, to everybody.
Amen.
Yep.
Lawrence coming up right after a word from our sponsor. Take care, pal.
Be good, kitty.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
And this is Lawrence Gunther. How you doing, pal?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Fantastic. How was your Easter weekend?
Oh, it was nice. Very low key. Just lots of walks. Lots of walks with the dogs and catching up on report writing. Oh man, yeah, reports. But I'm not complaining because the last month and a half, it's been show, right? Every weekend, something going on.
Well, this is just it. And of course, now that show season is over, I have to ask, what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, I still am blown away by the Toronto Sportsman Show. I think that was that show is back, absolutely back, in every sense of the word. It could go easily to 5 days. Just the crowd that was in there on Thursday, on Friday, I mean, and Saturday was just over the top, I guess. I mean, they had to close the door a bunch of times, and just the quality of exhibitors at the Toronto Sportsman Show was everything, but all outdoor stuff, all fishing, all hunting. They just had a really good, representation of outdoor things that people would be interested in that love the outdoors, including retrievers, right?
100%. There was literally everything that you could think of when it comes to outdoor enjoyment. I know they had the outdoor show. I believe it was either the weekend after or maybe it was 2 weekends, but big difference between the sportsman show and the outdoor show, in my opinion, because there's a lot more fishing and hunting that's there as opposed to the outdoor show. But yeah, no, absolutely. The Toronto Sportsman Show, Mike has done a fantastic job. I want to say reincarnating that show to get it back to where it was. And it's funny, Mike and Kyle work together. They're good. They're good friends. Oh. And I'll tell you, they're like two peas from a pod. They know how to put on shows. I'll say that.
And the Ottawa boat and outdoor show, that was really good too. I mean, that was filled. That filled that whole EY Center, from end to end. And just a walk from one end to the other was, it was a lot of stuff, interesting stuff, and not all sort of related. There was very little that was unrelated to, spending time on the water, fishing, boating. And those are my two favorite things for sure. So that was good. But that can cast and Muskie Odyssey thing. Wow.
Yeah. I would say the only complaint that I've heard, if there has been any negative feedback at all, is there's just so much. It's such a big show. How do you get it all done in a day? If you're someone that is a spectator, how do you get it all done in a day? And I have to say, I do sympathize. If you're someone that just likes to walk the shows, it might be difficult to talk to the person you're looking to talk to, or see whatever product it was, because let's face it, there's a lot of people at these shows. But I would say that was the only complaint I heard, was that I didn't get to do everything I wanted.
oh no, like 9 to 4, and it's in Peterborough, and I would say probably maybe who knows, like 5% of the people that showed up at that show were from Peterborough. The rest were driving in from far away. Like, we drove in the day before from Ottawa, because I it's a 3.5 hour drive. And I'm thinking, you'd have to leave pretty darn early in the morning to get there, and then drive back the same day. Yeah. That's a lot of driving, unless you can split up that driving with a whole bunch of people and make it doable. But, in the end, it was Luke and I went down. Most of my friends went down there the day before, 2 days before, to set up booths and tables and stuff like that. So Luke and I went down the night before, had a nice dinner, beautiful dinner. And he found us a pretty cheap hotel to stay in. It was nice, so clean and everything. And so I said, okay, let's hit CanCast first, because I know the Odyssey has got a big line. We drove over to CanCast, and we just circled the buildings that it was in, and the line circled those buildings, and the parking lots were full. The overflow parking lots were full. We were there at 9. And everything was packed. Absolutely, everything was jam-packed, and the line just stretched on forever of people. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people outside lining up to get in. Yep. And I'm like, man, that's a 2-hour lineup at least to get in. So if you're showing up for that show and then you got to line up for 2 hours to get in, it's like, holy mackerel, right? So I said, okay, let's go to the Odyssey. And Luke says, isn't it here? And I said, no, it's in another location in Peterborough. So he punched in, and it was an 8-minute drive away. We got there, and by the time we found parking there and got to the door, it was probably 9:45, and the line to get in there was pretty much gone. So we got in there, and we spent 3 hours at the Odyssey. And that, honestly, we were leaving there, and then we found, there's another whole section, and the boat show section, right? Yeah. There's 2 whole sections to the Odyssey. And
it's hard to believe that show started in I don't know if it started in the McRow building or the arena itself. Yeah. But let's just say it started on the floor of that arena, Peterborough Arena, moved to the McRow building, has branched out into the parking lot, as you said, the boat show, and now has moved down the street for Muskie's Odyssey. And I don't believe that was a one and done. I believe that that Muskie Odyssey is going to be back again next year. I don't know about in the same location, but definitely a part of this show going forward. So it as I said, Kyle is a magician when it comes to putting some of this stuff together, and a tip of the hat to him for making it work as well as it is. I know he's got a great team behind him that helps support him, including his wife. But I will say it is a marvel to see the videos, the pictures, all of the content that comes out of that show, because you can tell people look forward to it. They get excited about that show. There's a huge excitement about that show. So
when we left the Odyssey around 12:30. And it was starting to taper off. I talked to Hoser from Hoser Baits. He was sold out by 9:30, but he was still hanging around. He's like
that everywhere he goes.
No,
like, holy smokes.
It's the real deal, man. I said, you're living the life. And, he said, no, I don't know. He said, my wife and I spent 5 months alone in the bush carving these lures. And I said, that's love. And he goes, well, she hasn't stabbed me in the back yet.
Wow.
5 months. They live in the bush, off grid, carving lures all winter. Then they go do the show circuit, sell all the lures. He gets his money together, and then he starts guiding on the Great Lakes for salmon. And then in the fall, he switches over to muskie guiding, and then, starts all over again, right? And like all summer, he's living in hotels. He's living in hotels all summer long. So he needs that muskie lure money as seed money to get the season started, get the boats in the water,
Right.
get everything set up, pay the hotel bills until he can start generating money guiding. And then, and then he does it all over. He's quite the story, I tell you. But, just ran into a whole lot of good friends at the Muskie. Lisa was there, Capital Muskie Lisa with her new jersey, number 50 on the back for 50-inch Muskie, or better.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to what her season's going to look like. I'm really excited. I've loved Lisa the minute I met her. She's awesome, and I'm so looking forward to getting a chance to get out and experience what she has to bring to the table when it comes to guiding for muscle.
Yeah.
I've never really used a guide. I know I've gone out with a couple folks on Lake St. Clair that do take friends and whatever. Nick Obermuck was one that was a full-fledged guide, but I'd really love to experience time with Lisa. She's such a hoot. Every time I get together with her, it's nothing but laughs. So looking forward to that opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
So I've played my hand. What are you looking forward to open water season?
I want to try one of these baits. These are those little fuzzy dice baits. Can you see that?
Yes, I can, sir. Yeah.
So these are all the rage. Apparently, bass have not seen these fuzzy dice baits, and you can fish them on a jig. You can fish them on a drop shot. You can fish them like a wacky. And apparently they're the hot thing now. They're the hot thing. So I'm looking forward to trying those out. Lake, jigging up some lake trout too. Got that on my sights in the next couple weeks. That's going to happen at the end of April.
Nice.
And that's I'm looking
Are
forward.
you heading
to
to Lake Ontario for that? Is that where you're headed?
No, up by the center there, up at the Bluefish Center. We got to dial that in a little bit there. Figure that out.
Okay.
We're on a lake with natural occurring muskie. So. Or I should say, a lake trout. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I will say it can't come soon enough. I know folks. I'm even hearing weather people on TV saying like I'm so done. Like they don't even want to report it anymore.
No.
Like it's minus wind chills, snow. Like they don't even want to talk about it. Everybody is so done with winter, and we certainly want to move on. Some of us are going to be able to move on a little bit sooner than others, and I really
Not here.
my heart goes out to those folks up in northern Ontario.
Yeah,
the amount of snow that they've received in the last little bit. Good Lord.
Well, it snows, it rains, and that really messes you up because then it thaws. So if you're getting into there trying to get it somewhere off the road a bit with a snowmobile, you think, well, if it's thawed out during the day, the trails are all shot, and there's a good chance you'll go off a trail and get stuck. And if it's not, it's raining on top of everything, and then freezing solid ice, and that's not great either, right? So it's been the last 6 weeks have been challenging, for
to
sure.
say the least. I couldn't agree more. A question that I thought I'd ask you. Because obviously you just talked about the product that you're looking forward to using. And I will say, Dominate Baits, our good friends at Dominate, they have a very, I want to say a cheaper version, because I have seen some of the prices on those fuzzy dice.
3 for $10. That's what they were charging at the CanCast. One of the guys there.
I mean, I've seen them in packages, and they've been upwards of $40, $50, $60 a piece.
Wow.
So yeah, the price of them are all over the map. But I'm dying to know what they replicate in the water.
Nothing.
I'd really like to know what it is that has got these fish dialed in, or maybe it's just the fact that it's something new and they've never seen it before.
That's apparently the story. It's just something different, right?
Yeah.
Senkos, but even the guy that invented Senko, like Gary Yamamoto, he didn't invent it. He didn't match the hatch with that thing at all. He just was bored out on his boat with his little Yorkie, and took a piece of paper out, his pen, and started sketching ideas for baits. And then he looked at his clicking ballpoint pen and just sketched that, and he made a bait out of it.
Wow, that's incredible.
So what
Well,
what's a Senko represent, right? Like, you know,
absolutely. Well, and truly, I mean, at the end of the day, if it works, don't ask why. Just
Yeah.
be happy that it does.
yeah,
And I have to agree with that. But with that being said, I do have to ask you this:
yeah.
if you were to sum up, because I know everybody wants to jump on forward-facing sonar, what
Yeah.
is the largest threat to Canadian fishing right now?
Look, this is a question I've been mulling over my head for a while, obviously for a long time. Forward-facing sonar for the last few years. GPS, spot lock, things like that, right? They've changed fishing so much. So I've had some interesting conversations with some people. I talked to a 6th generation cod fisherman out on the East Coast. His family came over in the late 1700s, and he's now he's been editing a magazine about commercial fishing on the East Coast, and now he's been promoting this idea of blue justice, which is small communities along the coasts of Atlantic Canada with their smaller inshore fishing boats, fishing in ways that utilize hooks mainly and maybe some traps, but very selective kind of fishing like they've done for 500 years until everyone was encouraged to buy bigger boats and buy nets and start to go out there and drag nets or set net, do seines where they circle the fish and then scoop them all up. And, he said if we could get back to just fishing with less equipment, with more precise equipment, more sustainable equipment, less damaging equipment, we wouldn't need to have quotas anymore. And I said, what? He said, yeah, look, he said they opened up the cod fishery last summer. It was closed in 2 weeks because 3 big boats went out there and caught the quota in within 2 weeks they were gone. And I've been listening to this podcast series called The Cod Father off the east coast of the United States. And that guy bought up all the quotas and he bought up all the boats, and he would just go out there and, he basically just destroyed the whole fishery on the east coast of the United States before he got sent to jail. It's a great podcast series called The Cod Father. It's really well done. And they interview him throughout the whole thing. And he admits to everything he did. All the trickery, all the deception, all the, consolidation and monopolizing. He admits to all of it. And he's still got his finger in the pie there. No one really knows, or no one's talking anyways. But all that to say, I started talking to this couple that's promoting this idea of less intrusive, less destructive commercial fishing on the East Coast. And I said, you know what? This is like how we do recreational fishing, right? We don't have quotas for recreational fishing. We govern by equipment. How many hooks can you fish with? How many rods can you fish with? What kind of baits, all of that stuff, right? It's very specific. When can you go fishing? Where can you go fishing? What species can you catch? How big of the fish do they be to harvest, the slot limits and all that. So we're really dialed in to very specific nuances to make it, to promote conservation. We don't go out there and they say, okay, this Lake Ontario has, 5 million bass, average weight is 3.5 pounds. So as soon as we get to 15 million pounds of bass caught, the season's over. We don't do that. Even the commercial walleye fishery on Lake Erie is by fish. It's not by weight. And they look at the size of the fish that year, what's coming up. And they say, okay, they're all a little bit bigger. Like last year, they were all a little bit bigger than the year before. So they dropped the number of walleye that could be harvested commercially to make sure that, they didn't push the stock into collapse. Perch is a different story. I mean, a perch is a perch is a perch. They go by poundage. You're not going to measure every little perch that comes out of the net, right? It's not that easy. It would be completely, by the time you'd measure them all, that most of them would be dead anyways. Yeah. So it's a different story, but it's been doing really well. And the way we fish has been doing really well too. But, if we're going to keep adding technology to make us more efficient at fishing, we're going to keep having to add more rules on how we use it. And that's that we can't avoid that. We can't avoid that. And what are those rules going to look like? I have no idea. But I can tell you, I did have an interview with Dr. Stephen Cook, one of the leading thinkers in North America, if not the world, about recreational fishing and how to do it sustainably. You know, he's in the Fishing Hall of Fame in the United States. He just came back from Africa where they were holding the World Recreational Fishing Association meeting. And now he was just appointed as a commissioner to the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. So this Great Lake Fishery Commission, there's 4 American commissioners, there's 4 Canadian commissioners. These are usually high-level political appointments, governors of certain states, you know, high-level people. Right. And to get Dr. Stephen Cook appointed as a Canadian, as a commissioner for the Canadian side. So I had him and Mark Gaydon. He's the executive director of the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. And I said, look, I want to have talk to you guys about what this represents to have someone of Dr. Stephen Cook's, you know, skill and expertise and experience as a commissioner. This sends a signal out that recreational fishing it needs to be, you know, taken even more seriously in terms of the most valuable freshwater fishery in the world. And we need to make sure, and Dr. Stephen Cook has been controversial, right, in his writings. So, like, he wrote about forward-facing sonar 5 years ago. That article was published by the Globe and Mail newspaper, and he said, well, you know, maybe we need to dial it back a bit. You know, we're not going to give up our spot lock trolling motors. We're not going to give up our sonar. We're not going to give up our GPS. We're not going to give up any of that stuff. And forward-facing sonar is not going to be given up either. We just need to learn, how do we do this? You know, how do we keep doing what we want? What sort of extra rules do we need to apply? And maybe the Great Lakes Fishery Commission, maybe, you know, people like Dr. Stephen Cook and his 250 students, and Dr. Bruce Tufts and Chris Summers in Saskatchewan, and other great minds across Canada are going to figure this out for us.
Oh, I couldn't agree. Very great answer, by the way. Fantastic answer. Do you see accessibility being an issue going forward when it comes to recreational angling?
Access to fishing,
yes,
is you know, you look at Toronto. Toronto does this in the reverse ass kind of way. If it's posted for fishing, you can go fishing. If there's no signs, you can't go fishing. Like, that's just ridiculous, right? You got this city along the shore of Lake Ontario, and you can't go fishing unless it's posted fishing allowed. And David Chong found out that the hard way when he was charged by 2 cops when he was down there pike fishing off the shore just to kill some time between seminars at the Toronto boat show, and they busted him, and eventually it was thrown out, and it was debated by the municipality, you know, by the city council of Toronto. What the hell is this? The law was over 100 years old that he was charged on, and who knows what was all involved with that. But, you know, he fought back. You know, I think urban access to fishing, we're losing ground, and we've got to stand up for our rights. To, you know, you look at the Rideau Canal, right? The Rideau Canal, and I was talking to John Anderson, and he runs his Ottawa Fish School, and they've spent most of their time fishing on the shore of the Rideau Canal. And this year, I think he's looking to get up to 250 kids through over 10 weeks. And some of those weeks are doubled up with 2 different programs now. He's got a couple programs running over the summer. So he's figuring a total 250 kids. He would like to see a no harvest limit put on the Rideau Canal. And he said, you know, because he said you have some people, and we know this, there's some people who fish recreationally just to harvest fish. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's some who release everything, like bass anglers. Never would kill a bass. They'd kill their firstborn son before they kill a bass, right? And they feel that's carp anglers are a lot like that too from England, you know. But maybe where there's a intensity of fishing pressure, maybe we need to think about that. Maybe we need to think about, you know, should you be harvesting fish there? Because if so, maybe a handful of people are going to spoil it for everybody else. And that's John's opinion. You know, he says the fishing gets pretty tough. The kids let everything go. but there's people with white buckets who are harvesting panfish and whatever else they can catch. And if they do that every day, and some do, and whatever they're eating it, giving it away, who knows? Maybe we need to think about that. I think about Mississippi Lake, just a 30-minute drive outside of Ottawa, fourth biggest city in Canada, over 1.1 million people. That lake, Mississippi Lake, is now not cottages anymore. It's mostly four-season homes. There's docks upon docks upon docks. There's, I think, 3 different RV parks along the shores of that lake.
Wow.
And there's a lot of boats and a lot of fishing on that lake. It gets beaten up pretty bad, man. The fishing has, it's just deteriorated over the years just from pressure of people catching and eating fish. And so we need to start to think about pressure and access and technology, and how do we keep this alive?
John's brought up a great point here. I think if the new tech in fishing, i.e. forward-facing sonar, I think anglers are more prone to put back larger fish due to they know they can find them easier now. Let's face it, anglers okay. Let's face it, anglers okay must. Let's face it, anglers must. Okay, most anglers love what they do and have changed in taking care of their fisheries. I'd like to say that, obviously, because of the outcry and concern, John, I think you're 100% right. Really, at the end of the day, forward-facing sonar has allowed us to target fish that we never saw before. And whether they're bigger, larger, it really doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I know the folks from the muskie community are concerned about what forward-facing sonar might do to their larger fish going forward. But with that being said, yeah, I'd like to say that with all of the scuttlebutt, all of the negativity, we can't look at it as a bad thing altogether. Because really, at the end of the day, if you're educating folks of the importance of why forward-facing sonar could affect a fishery, isn't that valued education?
Or would you rather go to, quotas? Because would you rather say this lake has a quota of this much, or, every fish you catch, you have to keep, and you can't let it go, right? And then once you hit your limit, you're done. You're done for the day. And, these are some of the things that could happen if we're not careful.
Yeah.
We could be going down those paths, right? No fishing versus, no keeping versus you keep everything you catch. And there's lakes in Quebec, lots of lakes in Quebec like that. And, you see this in Europe too. We're going to have to figure this out because, back to Mississippi Lake, that lake is normally, there's a lot of it where it's just 20 feet deep and it's just a flat, muddy bottom. And then there's some humps. And those humps, with spot lock and down sonar and bathymetric maps came in, the avionic maps and things like that, everyone knew where those humps are. Those humps are barren now. They've been barren for years. The walleye that used to like going on those humps and the bass that went on those humps, they've been all caught. And the other fish that think about going there, they don't think about going there anymore because it's just bad news.
Yeah.
Bad news. So 100%. The humps are barren.
Jeremy, you bring up a great point. It's something that we spoke of before we went live tonight. What is social media doing to our fisheries? And I would have to say social media has had a few people reach out to me, and it happens every spring. Being a lover of walleye, of course, that's the first fish really in Ontario that we're targeting. We're seeing a lot of numbers being caught right now. Live wells full of very ripe females. So it has a lot of people concerned asking me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I have to say, I've always been a big proponent of catch and release. I understand charters, guides, they're there to make a living and they're there to provide for their clients. But there has to be a balance. And I think filling the boat on every outing, although that might be the goal of those who are paying for the charter, might need to temper that. But again, it's all comes down to the almighty dollar. If you're paying $400 to go out, sometimes it's not just about the experience. Sometimes you're wanting to go out there and harvest fish.
And why not? Look, a lot of the harvest, the consumption advisories have been slacked off a bit. You know, the fish are getting safer and safer in the Great Lakes to eat. You know, now you can catch walleye on the St. Lawrence River, and if you're a mother, a young person, you can eat these a meal a month, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're a nursing mother, you can eat a meal a month. So it used to be not that used to be that's new this year on the American side, and they're really pretty strict on this. I think you know, consumption advisories is not a bad thing, but I think we need to figure out how to make it more. Okay, your question about social media, I think it's actually, yeah, so maybe some people have lost their private spots. Maybe people have lost, you know, their favorite spots, and they've been found out because of whatever, the pictures. But I think we have more shaming, we have more self-policing, we have more exchange of knowledge in terms of what's doable, what's not doable, what's right and what's wrong, and making sure people follow the rules, and shaming them if they don't. I think social media, you know, if you look at all the apps, you know, in terms of reporting catches and encouraging young people to get out there and share their information and participate in these virtual tournaments that happen over a course of a season, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's more positive by far than negative. Yeah, few people lost their spots because people, you know, you shared images with GPS tags in them, or something, a landmark in the background. But live and learn, right?
Yeah, true enough. George is actually talking about forward-facing sonar and the beloved muskie. M&R is in year 3 of a 5-year project to gather data on the use and possible impact of forward-facing sonar. Currently, I am attending the Muskies Canada Ontario chapters to show the results to date and getting the members to fill out a questionnaire on their opinions. I love hearing stuff like this. I absolutely love it, George. Thanks for sharing that. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Very important research. And no, I know guides on the Otto River that, you know, you got to have it now if you want to compete as a guide, and they're changing their fishing techniques. They're jigging. They're using it for jigging around structure. And they're using the forward-facing sonar to make sure their expensive lures don't get stuck in the structure, and they have to break off, you know, $25, $50 jigging lures down there. You know, that's what they're using it for. They're watching the baits, and yeah, maybe they see the muskie shoot up and strike the lure, but they're not seeing the fish on the bottom. You know, you don't see fish on the bottom with forward-facing sonar anyways if they're right tight to the bottom. But so it you know, it's got a lot of different things. I did talk to a DFO individual at the Muskie Odyssey. They had a booth there, and we talked about muskie. And I think, you know, people say forward-facing sonar is a big threat to muskie. He thought, and I agree with him, that when you catch muskie in midsummer, 85-degree temperature water, and you take them out of the water for those grip and grin shots, that's a bigger threat than forward-facing sonar. You know, half of those fish are going back and dying.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, a lot could be said up for that. Again, we've seen the science shared about it. Barrel trauma has been something that we've talked about at great length. On the show.
So there's a lot of simple things we can do better. You know, look for tarpon. You can't bring a tarpon over the gunnel of a boat down in Florida. You know, you take the pictures of the fish in the water. You go get your big sturgeon on the Fraser River. You're not taking that fish out of the water. Even if you get in the water and lift it out of the water for 5 seconds, you're breaking the rule if it's over, I think, 5 or 6 feet long. So, you know, why are we taking trophy muskie out of the water to have our, you know, grip and grin shots taken with these fish and all year long? Yeah, maybe in the spring and the fall, it's not such a big deal, but maybe we shouldn't be doing that, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. Maybe it's a mindset, and I don't think it would be a major change to have that kind of effect that you're looking for. So, you know, something. Yeah, I think the folks at the Muskie Canada chapters, I don't think they would argue that point. I think they probably support something like that going forward.
Or they have closures, or they have closures during peak, you know, warm water periods, right? So, you know, which that could be a big problem. That could be a big problem. And who's going to enforce those, right?
It's going to be tough. And that's what it all comes down to, right? We don't have the resources to enforce it and police it like we'd like to.
Mhm.
I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
We're talking a little bit about it before we went live. The current state of gas prices, is
Oh.
that going to change how you fish this year?
I think about the Bluefish Explorer. You know, we don't spend a lot of time on the big motor. That's a 24-foot tri-tune with 150 horse Mercury. That motor puts us off the shore and, you know, puts us around to our 10 different destinations over 2 hours. But a lot of that is on the electric motor too. So we're not chewing up a lot of gas on that boat. And because we're launching pretty much where we do our expeditions. We're not moving up and down the river in any big ways. But then I think about, you know, the exploration center 2.5 hours north of Ottawa, and you know, off grid. So, you know, we don't have as many electric things as we'd like because everything has to be charged with solar and generator, and we're surrounded by giant trees. So that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of gas being used up there and a lot of fuel to get up there and back. And I'm thinking, oh, that sucks, right? You know, that's people who want to get out of the city, who want to get into the wilderness, and not just, you know, I think that's people are going to be fishing closer to home, you know, and that's going to be putting even more pressure on, you know, those fish that you can easily get to and back the same day, right? Those, you know, 30-minute trips, 45-minute trips that,
yeah.
But those 2.5-hour trips where you might go for an overnighter, oh, I don't know. People are going to start questioning if they want to do that. So those lakes that are a little further out are probably going to have less fishing pressure, and that's going to be shifted to the lakes closer into those urban centers, I think.
Very true. I agree. I don't disagree with that at all. Jeremy Parker, he believes muskie season should be closed during hot days of summer. I have heard others talk about that. It's interesting, Lawrence. You know, at the end of the day, although we pay a license, we're positioned to make some very important decisions as anglers. Do we keep this fish? Do we not keep this fish? Do we target this fish? Do we not target this fish? Based on a whole gamut of reasons and explanations. But they task us, you know, to really govern ourselves accordingly. And really, we become the ultimate power to make the ultimate decision.
I think whether you want to fill your limit or not, or whether you're going out there doing mainly catch and release, we make those decisions. But how we do the fishing, look at the rules. Look, there's so many rules, right? There's so many rules that rein us in. Yeah. How many rods can you use? How many hooks can you use on your line? Even that, remember the umbrella rig, you know? Yeah. You know, you can't use 5 like in the States. It's got to be 4 or 3, depending where you are in Canada. So, yeah, I mean, we're reined in on things all over the place. And I think that's, you know, we got to be willing to make these little nuances or accept these nuances. If they're made based on science and it's sound, people will live with it. They'll just go, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, circle hooks, round hooks, that makes sense. Well, let's do that. You know, like here's a bait here. I don't know if I'm going to hold this up the right way. You can see that?
Yeah.
So that's a jigging bait for lake trout, and it's got 2 circle hooks, no trebles. These are 2 circle hooks on the bait. And I said, how is that working out for you? And he goes, well, he said, you know, for people that you can jig them around down there at the bottom, but then you just start reeling them up and they shudder, and then the fish just come and you just keep reeling it until the fish hook themselves up. You don't set the hook with these. You just keep reeling. So for new people new to lake trout, but it's also, you know, the circle hooks are way less harder on fish to remove, and they never get, you know, very seldom get stuck down the gullet. So you look up north, and you know you're fishing single barbless hooks for pike up there and Arctic char, right? There's no trebles. And I asked that DFO guy too. I said, you know, think about, you know, I raised this at the first Muskie Odyssey, I think 15 years ago at Carleton University, to a scientist that was presenting, and I said, what about, you know, barbless hooks? And he goes, yeah, it would be much easier on the fish. And then everyone just went silent, and they were staring death stars at him, you know. And he said, but you know, they're the fish at 10,000 casts, so you want to make that one bite count. Well, if they're not the fish of 10,000 casts anymore, and if you're catching 3 or 4 a day with your forward-facing sonar, do you really need to have 3 giant treble hooks loaded with big barbs where you're having to cut the hooks and remove chunks of hooks from fish and basically do operate on the fish like a dentist at the side of your boat every time you want to let one go? Or would it make more sense to, go with a single, go with a barbless, maybe these are the little changes that I think we're going to have to accept. And I'm not a scientist when it comes to this stuff, but you look around at what's going on in other parts of Canada and what they've done to make sure the fish are going back healthy. And you think, well, maybe we need to do that here and little that, little this, to make it now that things are changing.
100%. What's upcoming in Bluefish Canada, Bluefish Radio news?
Well, we're going to have those 2 podcasts coming out with Dr. Stephen Cook and Mark Gaden from the Great Lakes Fishery Commission.
Nice.
And the 6th generation commercial cod fisher on the East Coast, and his wife, she's a writer, and talking about their push to get back to some blue justice to get these small communities, breathe some life back into these small communities, and the people who have made a living fishing cod and other fish off of the coast of Atlantic for the last 500 years. They don't want to see that go away, right? And I said to the guy, you look at the trend of agriculture in Canada, and every year we have fewer farmers, but we have bigger farms. So we used to have a small town surrounded by small farms, 100, 200 acre farms, a quarter section of 160 acres. And you'd have all community. Now all those farms are owned by one person.
Yeah.
And all the old people are leasing out their land, or they just kept the piece of land where their farmhouse is, and they're moving away when they pass on, and their kids aren't going to move back into those old houses. So those communities are being hollowed out. And if that's the way our fishery's going too, we're hollowing out all our coastal communities because of these, giant fishing operations. So maybe they need to dial it back, right? That's what they're promoting.
Good point. Great stuff. Well, we look forward to hearing that interview and many others upcoming. Look forward to seeing you again next Monday, and I'm sure we'll have a few topics to talk about in regards to what's going on with the state of our fishery, some of the news that's pertaining to our fisheries, and everything else in between. But until then, buddy, you have yourself a great week, and thanks so much for your time tonight.
Appreciate you giving me the opportunity, my friend. Have a good one. Be safe, eh? Stay away from that bubbling ground and flapping manhole covers. Flapping manhole covers. Holy shit! You better explain that one. It's good times when that's happened. I'll tell you, boy, it really gets me going when I see that kind of stuff. That's for another day. But until then, as I say, Lords, have yourself a great week, bud. Thanks so much for being you. Appreciate it. Yeah, man.
We got Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his son, Trevor.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Trevor Barnucz. I'm at the Pier Fishing booth at the Toronto Sportsman Show, and we're talking about the brand new Berkeley Chop Block. What this is, it's a soft body glide bait. A couple cool things about this bait. It's got a breakaway hook system, so once that fish grabs onto that glide bait, those hooks are going to come apart, and it goes just right back in place here. Cool little features with these new glide baits. Nice thing too is they're going to be more affordable for guys who are getting into glide bait fishing. And they have a really strong build to them as well, with that mesh in the middle keeping the bait together. And for those of you who are planning on getting into glide bait fishing, it's a great starter bait, and they're going to last you a long time as well. So come on down to the show and check them out online on the Berkeley website.
Cool stuff as always, having the big T. Discussing tackle. T with tackle with Trevor. I love it.
It was good. It was good.
Awesome
You did a good
stuff.
job.
Happy Easter, by the way, Jay.
You too, man.
How was your
You too.
weekend?
It was good. It was
Attaboy.
good. It was a lot of family this weekend. So we were busy. It was my mother-in-law's 75th birthday this weekend. So we had the family down here. Heather's brother came and their boys, and we had a surprise party at the keg, and then came back here after and just hung out, just had nice family time. So So yeah, it's been a busy month around here between birthdays and fishing shows. It's been a lot. Actually, even Heather said today, she's like, it's nice to have our house back to normal. So today was a lot of decompression, like putting things away, getting things ready. So yeah, and then while the weather's pretty questionable right now, so
Say the least.
yeah, I'm not in a major hurry to sort of jump outside and do stuff right now. So
And to all the folks that chime in from up north who are listening to us cry about the weather, like we have nothing to cry about. Those poor people up there.
yeah,
They've got at least never that groundhog. I bet you there's a bounty on that groundhog.
no, it's
Six more weeks of winter, buddy. I would have taken 6 more weeks of winter at this stage.
yeah, it's been wild, man. It's been absolutely wild. So
crazy stuff.
yeah, and we're not out of the woods yet. More like we're not getting a lot of snow, but like what's happening though is everything is just like everything's just slow to get going. Like it's April 6th, and we've had lots of rain recently, so there's a lot of steelhead running. But to be honest, like things are just kind of slow happening. Like that open water season, ice out has happened, but just barely, right? So I saw some guys catching a few crappies today online, so that was good to see locally. I did see though that like up in Algonquin, there's still tons of ice. Yeah. There's a guy I follow on Instagram. He works up in the outfitters up in Algonquin, and he does daily or kind of every other day does updates on their ice out. And they just have open water at the shore. There's still over a foot of ice on most of the lakes in Algonquin, and that's not that far north, to be honest. So
100%.
it is what it is, man. We're just in a slow process. That's all.
Absolutely. Stephanie, before we move on, Stephanie said something about a duck lure.
Yeah.
Funny. There's a story behind this, I'm sure.
There's a story. So one nice thing about working with Pure Fishing is we get to work with a bunch of great companies. And one of the companies, and actually, we'll talk about it a bit because of the CanCast, but Trevor and I have been working, getting to know more and more about Savage Gear. This is one of the baits that we've been talking about.
Wow. This
is actually a hard glide bait that they're promoting. It's called the Deviator Swim, and it's so Savage Gear is a cool company. They're based out of Europe. Yep. And their primary, what they're tailoring to is northern pike and zander anglers in Europe. And in the last 3-4 years, Savage Gear is becoming more and more popular here in North America. And they're tailoring they're trying to get into that sort of bass market and panfish market and walleye market here in North America, and of course muskie and pike. I think a lot of their baits really tailor well to those Esox anglers, muskie and northern pike.
Agreed.
And so we were very lucky to hang out with Jared, who is kind of like the bigwig sales guy for Savage Gear. He actually flew in to Toronto just before the CanCast show, and I got to spend most of the day with Jared at the Muskie Odyssey, learning about Savage Gear baits and the new glide baits coming out. And man, there's just some cool stuff coming from Savage Gear. And I think what's neat about Savage Gear is a lot of folks don't know anything about it. It's very, very new. And so what they've done is they actually have a lot of different gear. I don't have all my samples out with me, but like they have a burbot tube. They have an eel, like an eel snake, like it looks like an American eel. Some of their colors are just actually. I'll show. This is my new glide bait storage.
Holy smokes! You're all in on the glide baits now. Wow.
Yeah. So I've been using this for a couple of years for different applications, but the glide baits have been working really well in here. I'm gonna pull one out. This is a couple of their Shine Glides that I got here, and what they've done is that Plano roll-up case, glide baits, you want to protect them. They're not cheap. But that roll-up case actually has a mesh back on it. So what I do is I just buy these little lure wraps off of Amazon. They're not very good lure wraps. Like the Velcro is pretty thin. I wouldn't use them for rapid big lures, but because they kind of come off that Velcro is kind of chintzy.
Yeah.
But what's nice, Scotty, is they hold the glide baits well. So this is that's one of their Shine Glides there. And what they do is they actually 3D print. You can actually.
Oh yeah.
They actually 3D print their glide baits. So a lot of their baits have this realistic color to them. And yeah, we were using these last fall for some of the bass fishing we were doing. And so we're just getting more and more into it. And so they're really good at they make hard and soft glide baits. So it was great to just, when Jared being a lure designer, it was just great to pick his brain about how they design these baits, right? So, and what Stephanie wants to talk about, and actually they have some cool videos of this on YouTube, is a duck.
Wow.
So this is a topwater bait that's a duck. And believe it or not, it's not just a gimmick. It actually won Best of ICAST show back a few years ago. And there's some really cool videos on YouTube. If you look up Savage Duck on YouTube, there's some cool videos where guys are fishing for big muskie and big pike with these things in kayaks. And it's pretty cool. I'll try and open this up, actually. So
Sonia, close your eyes. Close your eyes, Sonia. She's a bird lover, and she's horrified at the thought of a duck being eaten by a toothy critter.
This is kind of hard to see. But I'm going to try and open this up here. So there's two hooks that go on the back, and there's a third hook. But you can see here, it actually has the little duck feet actually rotate.
Wow.
like a plopper. So it's pretty unique, man. And it comes with a spare hook. So, and that's it. That's the small one. They make a bigger one too. So
incredible.
And they retail for about $25. One of the few places I've seen them, I'll give a shout out to Gagnon's and Oshawa. They actually carry a full line of Savage Gear baits. So I've had a lot of people come up to me in the booth and they want to purchase this, and not all stores are carrying it. It's obviously pretty unique. It's not for everybody, but Gagnon's has these in stock and you can order them online. So yeah, and they aren't just in yellow. That the yellow is kind of loud and proud, but they do make like a natural duck. It looks like a mallard duck. So it's got a natural duck color to it. So Stephanie really wanted a duck lure, so we were able to get her one recently. So there you go.
At $25, wouldn't it be cheaper just to use a real one? No, I'm just kidding, Sonia. I'm just kidding, Sonia. Just kidding. Wow.
Well, we all know we all see the videos of those northern pike eating those small ducks. I'll actually, while I got my stuff out here, I will show the bait that Trevor. This was actually the bait that he showed in that video. This is the new Berkeley chop block.
I like the hook system, how it breaks away, Jay.
Yeah, it's well, and that's the question that we get. So it's actually like basically surgically stitched together.
Yeah.
So it's soft. It's a soft glide bait. Okay. This is the 8-inch one. And it only weighs in at 2 ounces. So for the size of it, it's actually pretty light. It has bristle tails here, so it's pretty durable. But the question is that how durable is, a soft glide bait versus a hard one, right? So what Berkeley's done is, now Berkeley had the Nessie last year, and the Nessie is a longer, so the same size Nessie is 1 inch longer, and it has a more of a wide glide. This one, you can really make it a tight glide when it goes through the water. But the way this hook system works, this is all designed to protect the lure. So it actually has a breakaway hook system. And it has a clip here that the main hook goes into. And then in the back, there's a little notch there. And there's actually a magnet right there, and that magnet holds that second hook in place.
Wow.
And it's strong. It allows it so you can cast it and that doesn't come off. But when a fish hits it, because this breakaway system, this breakaway harness system, it protects your bait. It protects your bait from getting tangled up by fish. So it comes in the most popular size that we've seen. They make a 6-inch version, and it's only 1 ounce. And so what's nice about that size, Scotty, is that anybody can throw it. If you all you need is a medium heavy rod. Any medium heavy rod. Bait casting is best, but any medium heavy bait caster will throw a 1 ounce glide bait, no problem. But you can throw a 2 ounce on a 1 ounce weighted rod, because what you're doing with these, Scotty, when you're casting them, do not try and like overhand long bomb it. We're doing like a sidearm, like we're just lobbing it out there. So you're coming low off the water and you're letting it go up in the air and let it touch down that way. So whether you're throwing, and a lot of musky anglers know that casting technique, you're just kind of lobbing the bait out there. And what's nice about these baits too is because they're soft, we can put nail weights in them, so we can change the buoyancy, we can change the fall rate. So if you want, they do slow sink on their own, but if you throw a nail weight in there, you can get it to nosedive, or if you put the nail weight in the back, it'll fall more horizontally instead of vertically. So you can play around with the nail weights in there as well. So it's a pretty smart design by Berkley.
Before we get on to CanCast, I know Shane's asked this before, and Shane, I'm telling you, he's hunkering down. This boy at the Perch Festival in I want to say Aurelia. I guess it's the Aurelia Perch Festival.
Yeah.
That Shane's going to be participating in. He has made sure to employ the services of a local guru, but now he's specific about the baits, and he's talking about the Gobius for jumbo perch. I'm not that familiar with that product. I know you are, so I'll let you give your 411.
Well, if anyone fishes Lake Simcoe perch, you know that they're eating gobies. So any goby imitators are going to be, and that's the thing too. A lot of anglers, we see pictures of gobies online, and for a lot of anglers, we think gobies are like 3 inches long, maybe 6 inches long. They're not. The majority of gobies in the Great Lakes are literally like millimeters, like 40 millimeters to 50 millimeters, like 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters, like literally like the size of my thumbnail. That's how. And so a lot of the gobies that are being eaten by perch, whitefish, they're sucking those little gobies off the bottom. They're not always eating great big ones. And so the Gobius is a good size of bait. You don't have to go too big. Obviously, it doesn't hurt to throw something a little bit bigger, but don't be afraid to go small with perch as well, because they will eat it. That's what they're targeting.
100%. And Sonia, that's a great comment in regards to the breakaway design. Definitely a lot less damage to the lure, for sure. So let me get your take. CanCast, I know you took off, it was the Sportsman Show. Yeah. And you elected to go to CanCast. And as always, the excitement, it just oozes out of this show. And based on the content, videos, and pictures that have been shared, let's just say it was an extremely successful event. But what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, I'll tell you a bit about our weekend. So we went up on the Saturday, and we went to Gagnon's for a few hours on Saturday. We saw Jim there. That was great. Man, I'm going to tell you, Gagnon's was packed.
Wow.
Man, that spring sale they have, and now I don't go every year because Gagnon's is a little bit out of my geography a little bit. I stop there all the time. If we're going up to Peterborough or Bowmanville or anywhere north, we stop at Gagnon's. I've been shopping there. Dude, I've been shopping there since I was in college. So great shop. And what's great about, we went there and helped out the guys at Gagnon's sell some tackle. And it's so easy to sell stuff there because they have everything. They have one of the widest tackle selections for an everyday retailer that I can think of. In fact, they've added more from the last year when I was there. They have more racks of stuff. Like it's so I don't care whether you're into muskie fishing, trout fishing, bass fishing. They have everything there. Everything. They have a variety. In fact, Savage Gear has new glide bait rods that are out that are hard to find in North America, and they had a rack of them there. They had a couple dozen of them there. So for me, I loved it because this is stuff that I'm planning to invest money in, and they have a variety of assortment there of basically rare stuff. They had everything for everybody. Whatever you're after, they had it. I don't care the brand, and their pricing was good. In fact, it's too late now, but every rod and reel in there was 20% off. Everything. Wow. So never mind no tax. Just forget that. Just whatever the price is on the rack, take 20% off.
Wow.
So anglers are coming in there and they're buying. I sold a few like $300 reels without even having to push the price, where it's like I didn't have to convince them. It's like you look at the price and you take 20% off of 300. That's pretty easy math. And they're like, yeah, I'll take two of them. I'm like, no problem. Like, I'm just handing them out. Like, it was impressive how easy it was to sell stuff there. They didn't have any deals. They had some other deals, but mostly it was just 20% off rods and reels. But their pricing on everything else is great on their soft plastics. I met a young angler there. Well, not young angler, probably in his 20s. He younger than me. He wanted to get into pike fishing. And he's asking me about fishing the Kawarthas for pike in the spring and timing it and stuff. And, you know, I was explaining to him how they spawn in the backs of creeks. And when you get out there in open water in the spring, water temperature is your friend. You want to know about what is the water temperature. And that might tell you where the pike are. And so he was going to throw bucktails. And then I suggested maybe try some big spinner baits in the backs of coves where it's weedier because the bucktails will get hung up. So I sold them some spinner baits. I sold them some bucktails. I actually got out a piece of paper and drew a map out, like, you know, if they're not back in the creek, they could be staging at the weed line coming in. So if you're going to do that, try the bucktails out there, jerk baits. Like, I just loaded this guy's basket with stuff. We just walked around. Dude, I had this one young couple. This young couple was great. They were probably around 18 or 19 years old. Never been fishing before. And they're like, we heard about the sale on the radio and we wanted to come buy some stuff. I'm okay. Well, have you fished before? They said, no. I said, okay. Well, so I set them up with a couple of combos, and they have a trailer on Scugog. So we walked literally, dude, I had a basket and I had them with me, and I'm like, well, here's some panfish baits. And I explained how to rig them. Here's some, I just walked them through all of the stuff that they might need. And there was like no questions asked. Thank you. And they walked up with a basket. Like, I did that with a few people where I actually said, let's get a basket. And we filled the basket with stuff. Wow. Like, it was unbelievable. So that was Saturday. And then we went up to the show. I felt bad for Kyle. So all of us at Pier Fishing, there was 4 of us. We were down at Gagnon selling tackle. And the show closed at 5 on Saturday for setup, right? Well, hell, man, we had to race to Peterborough to get there to set up. We went to the Muskie Odyssey first at the Kinsman Arena. We set up our booth there. And then we went over, we had 2 booths. We had Muskie Odyssey and at the Memorial Center. We got to the Memorial Center like just before 5. Of course, Kyle's great. He kept it open for us. We set up fast. It wasn't a big booth. It's not like the Sportsman Show. So then we did that, and then we got to go for dinner. Went for dinner to Shoeless Joe's. I got to have dinner with Bob. Bob was there, so having dinner with Bob Azumi, one of my idols, that's fantastic. I got to hear about Wayne's his aquaculture system that he's running. I know that you're paying attention to what Wayne's doing. I got to hear all about that because Bob and Wayne are very savvy business guys. They truly are, especially Wayne. And so listening to Bob talk about Wayne and hearing all about like just how well they're doing with their whole system, and they're expanding. They're buying more properties and more quarries, and talking about the feed and the types of feed they're using. And oh man, I loved it. It was just a great conversation with Bob. And then the next morning at breakfast, the Pure Fishing guys were like, well, Jay, we need somebody at the Muskie Odyssey, but we're going to be a little short-handed with guys we got. So can you do the Muskie Odyssey solo? And I'm like, you bet.
Sure.
So I went over to the Kinsman Arena. I got in, I set up the booth, and I hung out with the Muskie Odyssey all day. I saw Lisa. I saw so many people that I wouldn't see, Scotty. Like, because I would normally not go to the Muskie Odyssey part because I'm going to be busy in the other area.
Right.
So I know there's a lot of people that I didn't get to see, but I saw a lot of people that I normally wouldn't see. I saw the Nabulsies. I talked to Mike and Matt. I've been friends with them for 30 years. I saw Brent Bocek there, his wife Heather. They were there. Brent was doing seminars. I saw the Parkers on setup. They were at the main building, but I saw them early in the morning. Just awesome. Just awesome to hang out. Those Muskie people, they're crazy, man. There was a booth in front of me, and I forget the name of the company. I apologize. But this guy doesn't need my help. He opened up his little table, and he was selling handmade lures at $200+ a piece. And when the show opened, his booth was lined up the length of the hockey rink, the whole length. Like, he was in front of me. We were kind of at the one end, and they were lined up, and everyone had money, a wad of cash in their hand, and everyone's buying this guy's baits. And they were all hand-painted, beautiful lures. Like, this is stuff I would display in my living room, like on my coffee table or over my television. And these guys are buying them to go fishing with them. It's a whole. I've heard of this kind of stuff going on at Muskie Odyssey. I've never witnessed it. I got to witness it firsthand. It was great. But what was probably even cooler was so many people that were there, Scotty, who had never gone muskie fishing before.
Cool.
Or have thought about it. And they came in, and Pro Tackle had a great booth there from Belleville. And they have a lot of muskie gear. Muskie guys, muskie girls, Pro Tackle carries a lot of muskie stuff. And I sold a bunch of. So what's nice about Abu is they make what's called a Max Predator combo. So what it is it's an entry level muskie combo, $300, and it's a reel and a rod that's suitable for muskie fishing for $300. It gets you out on the water, gets you started. So instead of spending $600 on your first combo, which a lot of muskie rods, like a decent muskie rod you're looking at $300 starting. And the reel's going to be $300 for the proper size. Like, this isn't the one I'm talking about. This is the new Beast reel, but that's a 300 size reel. So that's the smallest you're going to want to go. That's a $300 reel retail. I think it's $350 plus tax. But the Max Predator combo is $300, and they were doing taxes in. So I sold a half dozen of those because they're 2-piece and they can take it. And yeah, sure, it's not a high-end combo, but these are anglers who just want to try muskie fishing. What was really neat too was a lot of older guys coming in, and these guys who want to muskie fish, they can't handle the big combos. Like, they can't handle the big rods anymore. And so I sold a couple of these. These are the new Abu Beast reels.
Wow.
So that's a 300 size. They're but they're about $350 plus tax. But what's nice about them is that, like, they're pretty light. Like, but it's a durable reel, right? And there's other, everybody makes a heavy duty reel like this now. This is Abu's dive into it, the Beast. And so we sold some of these for guys who are like, these are guys who are retired. They got a shoulder issue or a wrist issue. They don't want to carry around those big, like 400 size reels and rods. And they just want to go hike and muskie fishing at the cottage and have a combo that they can handle. And so I sold some of those. I'm doing this by myself in the booth, man. I'm running around that show selling tackle. I did have a couple guys come and chat with me about like the Jared was there from Savage Gear and got to help me with the booth, basically, so no one took anything. I don't think anybody would, but you know what I mean. I don't want to the booth. But yeah, it was just a great setup. It wasn't just the diehards. Everybody was there. And the last thing I'll say about it, Scotty, is because of the two buildings, this is the magic part. This was the magic part. It was busy the entire day. Yes, it slowed down after lunch for sure. But there was people who got on the shuttle because, well, one, you had to take the shuttle. There was no taxis and no Ubers available. I know this because I know guys who tried. They could not get around the city of Peterborough. And there was guys coming from the Memorial Center after lunch to the Muskie Odyssey, which was also where the swap meet was. So it was a double rink. Kinsman Arena is a double rink. So the swap meet was on one side. Sean McCall was kind of running that show over there. And then Muskies Canada was running the Odyssey. And yeah, there was people coming in all day. I sold stuff right up until 4:00. Like it slowed down, but you know how some of these shows, the last 2 hours, like you could bowl down the aisles. It wasn't like that at all.
I don't think CanCast has ever been like that.
No.
In all the years that I've been there, and this being the first year I wasn't able to make it, I don't think CanCast has ever been like that.
Like I talked to Kyle a little bit about. I asked him straight up, dude, what were some of your problems today? And I know he keeps his cards close to his chest. His biggest complaint from people was the lineups to get in. And I was on the phone. It's funny. In the morning, Peter Young was at the Odyssey doing photos at like 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I was chatting with Pete. And it's 8:00. Opens at 9, right? Opens at 9. We're at the Odyssey, not Memorial Center. His phone rings. It's Ashley Ray. Ash is calling Pete and like, hey, what time should I get there? We're just about to go for breakfast. And Peter's like, Ashley, you need to get there now. You won't be parking. Like, you need to go to the show now. And it's true. Like, if you're not in that parking lot by 8:00, you're going to have to walk miles to get there. Like, they have lots of parking. It's not the venue's fault. It's just the number of people that went to this.
Absolutely.
Like, unbelievable, man.
Great. It's a great problem to have. But if that's the biggest complaint folks had about lineups, then I can honestly say I don't think we'll hear any negative feedback from the vendors if that's the case.
No, for every negative review, you're gonna get 500 good ones, right? So
great tip though in regards to a great takeaway in regards to having the two buildings or two venues, I should say, because they have the McGrow building next door, and then of course they had the Kinsman, which was down the way. And I think going into it, there was discussion in regards to how is that all going to work. Obviously there was no issues. And to your point, it spread it out so that the show remained busy for the entire, duration of the day. So that's awesome. That's great to hear.
I would like to hear, I haven't talked to anyone who took the shuttle bus. Well, I know they did, but I didn't ask them their experience. I'd like to hear how that went down, because having been to, for folks that haven't been to the Bassmaster Classic, that's usually how they get people around. So when you go to the Classic, usually the stadium, like the arena and the expo, are at two different locations. And so typically you have to decide where you're going to park. And a lot of us would park at the arena because we're going to end up there. And then we'll take a shuttle from the arena to the expo, and then from the expo back. And what's cool about the Bassmaster Classic is there's no admission fee. You just show up, that's unheard of, right, for us in Ontario. But still, for $20, $25, you get parking, you get a shuttle, you get all the draws. Look at all the draws that he did leading up to that show. Like, I was joking with McCall, with Sean, because he's like, I've already bought my 5 tickets. I want to win some of that. I want to win some of those prizes. Like, this is Sean McCall, who works with Kyle on the show, and he's buying tickets to CanCast because he wants to win a prize. That's awesome. I had free admission. I bought 2 tickets. I actually ended up giving the tickets to a friend. I'm like, here, I'm not going to use these now. I sent them to him, right? Like,
well, it was funny because Tony Szynowski reached out to me and said, Scotty, can you give Jay Barnucz a heads up that, you know, I've signed up for a few things that he's going to have to pick up my prizes. And we've got to write this down because I don't know any giveaway that Tony has, you know, involved himself where he hasn't won. And Fancast being the first that we have not seen him bring home a prize.
Right.
That's incredible. I think,
you know what's funny about that whole show is that if you were working the show, like let's say, I don't care what company you're with, Weapons of Mass Destruction, Tackle Depot, Water Wolf, you name the brand, big and small, whatever brand. I know that people think CanCast is a place to meet up and hang out. It is if you're not working there. Like you can't take a break, man. There's no breaks. I'm glad I brought food and water to the show, and I had it with me in the booth. Like I don't think I went to, dude, this is a little too much information, but I didn't go take a leak until like 1:30. Like it was packed. Yeah. Like and it is amazing, and kudos to, and like you mentioned in the earlier segment, Kyle's good friends with Mike. I know they work well together, and I know that Kyle, knowing how Mike does things, like Mike will always tweak the event to make it better. And his team, it's not just him, it's his team. We all know this, but his team will tweak it to improve. They will recognize when that didn't work, let's make it better. Yeah. And that's what Kyle's doing. And like, I'm not going to say he'll change venues, but he's also like, I was joking with him. I said, dude, you need to find an arena with 4 pads. And there are some in Ontario with 4 pads. If you could find a 4-pad arena, then you're laughing. Now, I'm not saying he'd move it from Peterborough. I don't think it was that bad, but obviously it was real busy. And it brings up the question, 1 day or 2, right? So,
yeah. And I've had that awkward conversation because I know he gets bombarded with that all the time. And
I don't know the answer. I don't know. I see both sides, so I don't know the right answer there. I know for a lot of the vendors, it's not. They can't do 2 days. I know that, but
I don't think it's an easy question to answer, even though it's a yes or no. And they both have their benefits and they both have their downfalls. One being the biggest thing, which we're going to talk about in a second, is cost. You know, everything doubles. As soon as you add another day, everything doubles. And it's easy for us as a spectator to say we would appreciate 2 days to allow us the time to get around and talk to and meet to everyone. It's at a cost. And do we pass that on to the spectators, those who come and pay their tickets to come to the show? Or do we pass that on to the vendors? Because I don't think the vendors really want that passed on to them. So,
well, it's not broken.
Amen.
It ain't broke.
Amen.
Like, so maybe it's not worth changing, you know? So
I agree.
Maybe that it is what it is. I think that maybe it's time to, he's changed it so much in the last couple of years, all for the better, that maybe next year run it the way he ran it this year, tweak it where he feels it needs to. But man, if you're not going to CanCast, and I'm not knocking anyone else's show, Toronto Sportsman Show, awesome show. Spring Fishing Show, there's so much potential there, man. So much potential, but it just needs something more right now. But the CanCast, especially for that part of Ontario where I know people are driving far. Lawrence said, you know, Ottawa's 3 hours, but you know, CanCast is so big that it attracts people from that whole eastern part of Ontario, which is a huge calling, because it's just as far for me to drive to CanCast from home as it is for someone from Ottawa to drive to CanCast. It's very central in Ontario, and we live in a big place, right? So,
and I would have to say, you know, per capita, if you were to take the population of the GTA and the population of Peterborough, would I be wrong to assume that the per capita of anglers in Peterborough outnumbers the per capita?
Oh yeah. Peterborough is about the size of Brantford. It's about 80,000, give or take 10,000, like something like that. So it's about the size of Brantford. But there's so many anglers there, especially within an hour of their place, right? So, Adrian, I got a lot of compliments on that photo, man. I did. That's no joke. You tell your granddaughter that a lot of people loved it, and it. There wasn't a lot of pictures of me from the Sportsman Show. I'm not going to lie. I was so bloody busy. So one, I'm happy I got a picture at the Sportsman Show. So thank you for that. And two, I got a lot of compliments about that picture and just how it's just I don't know, man. It's a fishing family photo. Who doesn't love those, right? I loved it, and a lot of my friends did too. And a lot of my friends who aren't even anglers but saw the picture on Facebook. So yeah, tell your granddaughter, very, very famous.
So Jay, next week I think what we'll do is we'll talk about that video that you had shared. We'll break that up. It's just the status of Lake Erie, and I think it's important to start talking about some of the topics that are being asked of me. I'm sure folks are asking you questions too about, where are we headed when it comes to Lake Erie? Is it going to continue to be the fish factory that we know it to be, or is there going to be a change? And I think it's a good time to talk about it, because I would say for all who know that fishery from a walleye perspective, not any other species, but a walleye perspective, we have embraced and had the luxury of listening to stellar spawns for the last 3-4 years, almost back to back. This is the first year that they can say the population has peaked, that it's not possible for it to grow. And there's reasons for that. There's a whole bunch of things that we can talk about in regards to that. But before I let you go tonight, and thanks so much for sticking around as long as you have.
Yeah.
Gas prices. I know everybody's feeling that pinch, although I'm beginning to feel as if folks are living for the now. You hear these purchases. Like, people are spending money. And it seems to me that they're living for the now, not for tomorrow. Gas prices, is it going to affect your fishing this year?
So that's hard to say. I think if they persist through the summer at this rate, if they don't go down, we probably won't travel as much. Like, we're also spoiled, man. I live near such good fishing that as much as I love fishing other places, I don't have to go far for good fishing. For us in the short term, like trout opener, panfish, carp, catfish, I can do all of that within an hour of my house, right? So that doesn't bother me as much. If we get into the summer, it's going to impact me daily. I drive 200 kilometers to work round trip, right? That's 3 days. That's 3 to 5 days a week, depending on if I'm traveling for work or not. So that's, now I've always driven that. I'm pretty used to it. But I've noticed the price. Like it hurts at the pump right now, where it's like, ouch, like that stings. So if this continues, then I think it might impact what I do this summer. I know some people, it hasn't impacted us yet though, Scotty. And I mean us, even the collective us anglers, we haven't, it hasn't hit us at home yet. But I think if the prices continue to escalate and we start to see, listen, man, in other countries, they're having shortages of gas. They're having shortages of food because they can't get produce. Like it's this, and it will come to North America. We will see an impact of this, and how much, I don't know. But I think for a lot of us, if we're smart, we will just like, okay, let's pivot. We're just going to fish close to home. We're going to do what we can. Like for a lot of anglers, most of the people that I associate with, they live within an hour of Toronto, which puts them within an hour of the Kawarthas or an hour of Lake Simcoe. Maybe they won't do that cottage trip this year. I think the tourism industry might suffer more than the anglers. In fact, when things get tough, fishing does well, Scotty. We know
this from COVID.
We've lived it, right?
Yep.
So because it's let's face it, is it cheaper to buy that new reel you've been putting off for $350 or rent a cottage? Right? So, hey, I might not do my boys' weekend up north this year, but I'm still gonna buy that new rod and reel that I wanted, and I'm just gonna fish close to home. So, that's my vote. That's where I'm putting my vote right now. But we'll see what happens. Hey, man, we're a month away from, not even, we're 3 weeks away from trout opener, and that's when all of us will get busy again, right? So now I hope that the weather changes by then, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's awesome. Jay, as always, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for all that you bring to our show and of course our community. I love the fact that you're able to stick around as long as you are at the end and be the anchor that you are. We appreciate that, pal.
Buddy, it's my pleasure. Always happy to be here, man.
Right on, Paul. Well, you have yourself a great week, okay? And we will chat.
Yeah.
We'll start breaking that video up because there's some great segments in it, and I think it speaks very well to what is currently going on in Lake Erie and things that we need to be concerned of and be aware of. So I'm looking forward to a good discussion.
All right.
Okay, Paul, you take care of yourself.
See you guys.
Jay. And that is the end of our show. Thanks so much for all who have stuck around for as long as you do. Mark, thanks so much for the Facebook plug. This is the North Bay show that's happening. First show that I'm aware of that's been up north. Looking forward to seeing the results of that. As I said, it's awesome to see it spreading to the north because, as I said, per capita, you're looking at a heck of a lot more anglers, I think, up that way than you are down this way. So I might be wrong. Don't be upset. But I just think that might be the case. But it should be a great show. All the same, as always, thank you from much. That's awesome. Good stuff. All those Southern Ontario staying. Well said. Awesome stuff. Well, again, we will be posting upcoming updates in regards to all the prizes that are going to be involved and given away next Monday for the first fish of 2026 contest. Looking forward to that. As always, we will be doing our Power Hour. It won't be this Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we will be back. Danny and I have a guest lined up, so we're looking forward to that. And let's just say there's going to be a whole bunch of other announcements that are going to be coming in the not so far off future. Have yourselves a great week. Stay warm, stay dry, and stay fishing, my friends. All the best. Dave, take us away. Have a wonderful week. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.